Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dominick Nicolai, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about SARMs and my past experience with them. So, about a week ago I made a post saying something to the effect of, if you think I look good in this photo, then imagine if I took like real deer or something like that. And what I meant by that was, if you think that I look good in this photo, imagine what I could do with like real steroids. And when I talk about real steroids, I mean, injectable steroids, even oral steroids and stuff like that, because what I've used in the past is something called SARMs. And SARMs it basically stands for selective androgen receptor modulators. So essentially it's supposed to work the same way as real anabolic steroids do, but without any of the negative side effects like shutdown and acne and gynecomastia and stuff like that, which are somewhat possible with SARMs as well, because a lot of times you might not be really getting real SARMs, depending on who you get them from, where you get them from, and stuff like that. I'll talk a little bit about that later. But of course, I mean, if you are taking SARMs and you do abuse them and you use way too much of them, you are going to start to see side effects like maybe a bit of acne, a little bit of shutdown, and stuff like that. But to be honest, I never experienced really any of that because I always try to use them very responsibly and pretty conservatively. So my goal was to always basically try and get the most results out of the least amount of stuff. That way the next time around I can basically add just a little bit more and then still see the same results that I did before by taking just a little bit more. So a way that I like to think about it was, if you're playing like a card game, right, and you have a handful of cards and you have all the good cards in your hand, and it comes to be your turn for the first turn, and all of a sudden you just slap down all of your best cards, right? Well, that made for a really good first turn for you, but next time it comes around to you, you're not going to have any good cards left to play because you basically just used them all. So that's kind of the same way I'm thinking about SARMs. So if it's your first time using SARMs and you just take all, just a shitload of stuff, then next time around, how are you going to expect to see, the same results that you did the first time without having to take more of the SARMs that you already did, And that's where it gets kind of dangerous, because then you can start to really take way too many SARMs and that sort of thing. So right here I have my laptop, just to go over a couple of talking points. I was going to try and memorize all this stuff, but I mean, there's no point in doing that. So that way I just have my laptop here so I can just kind of have a few quick bullet points to go over with you guys. So I've used SARMs for the last 3 years, 2 to 3 years, right? And I haven't really said anything about it just because, I don't really know. I guess I was kind of just afraid of what people were going to think or say or whatever. But and now that I'm telling people that I'm using SARMs, people are going, oh, that's just kind of a cover-up as to, to say that you're using SARMs so people get the attention off of the fact that you're really using steroids, which that's really not true. And again, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you guys think I look good on SARMs, wait until I may or may not use, real steroids in the future. And that's basically just going to be a matter of if I can actually source, real pharmaceutical grade stuff to actually use, because it's, in my opinion, it's one thing if I'm going to be, ingesting something. So I'm not saying, I know for a fact that the SARMs that I was taking were all 100% legitimate and stuff like that. What I'm trying to say is that it's one thing to ingest something as opposed to actually injecting it into your body. Those are kind of two different levels of severity, in my opinion. And plus with steroids, there's just a lot more factors you have to consider in terms of sterilization, keeping the stuff at a certain temperature, not injecting into a vein and all kinds of different stuff. Whereas SARMs, it initially appealed to me because it was so simple, because I could just basically go, okay, I'm going to have a pill container of 30 days, and I'm just going to, ration out these SARMs into 2 capsules of this SARM, 1 capsule of that SARM, and maybe another capsule of this SARM per day. So it was much easier to kind of dose it and do it in a more controlled manner than doing something as serious as steroids can be. Now, to be honest, I've always been pretty ripped and muscular. I've always looked great, to be honest. I have really good genetics, so that's on my side as well. So when I started to use these SARMs, I also think that my body's very sensitive to this sort of thing, which is great, because that way I didn't have to take a bunch of these chemicals to see the results that I wanted to see. So that was always nice. And what else was I going to say? So as far as the specific kind of SARMs that I was taking, again, I'm not recommending that anybody take SARMs. I'm not telling you to take SARMs. I'm not saying that they're the best. I'm just telling you what I've done. I don't recommend that anybody take SARMs. If you want to do that, that's your choice. That's up to you. So what I've used in the past is Ostarine, otherwise known as MK2866, so something like that. So Ostarine. I've used LGD, S4, Cardarine, which might be the same as S4. I don't really know. I've used YK, and I would say that those are probably the main ones that I've used. And there's a bunch of other SARMs out there, and they're developing new ones and whatnot. As far as the actual company that I got mine from, I didn't order them online, so I definitely can't, don't ask me to make you a recommendation as to where to buy them, what website to get them from, whose stuff is real, whose isn't, because I really don't know. I'm just telling you what I've used. I used SARMs by a company called MSL, and that's really not even going to help you if you're going to try to go and find them, because it's basically a fake company, to help protect them legally. I guess they're supposedly out of Kentucky or something like that, but they actually make them in Canada and ship them here, something like that. Anyways, I got them from a local supplement shop in which I used to work for, of which is no longer in business, so you can't even come here and get them if you wanted to. So yeah, don't ask me where to get them, don't ask me who to get them from, if this person's stuff is real, if that stuff is real, I don't really know. Like I said, I've used SARMs, I haven't abused them. So I've always been very responsible about how I'm dosing them and how much I'm taking, because obviously in the back of my head I knew, like, hey, next time I'm doing a cycle of this, I want to be able to still see good results. I don't want to have to take copious amounts of SARMs to still see the same sort of results that I did last time, which brings up another good point, which is that I'm obviously not taking these SARMs year round. And don't think that I look the way that I do just due to these SARMs. Like I said, I have good genetics, I practice a good diet, I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I work out every day and stuff like that, but I think that these SARMs, really helped to bring me a step above what I could do naturally, and what I consider myself to be natural still, I don't really know. I mean, I guess not, because I've used SARMs, but I mean, some people consider to be, that you're not natural if you've used steroids, and if you've used, anything else other than that, it doesn't really matter. That's not what I'm here to talk about. Whether you think I'm natural or not, that's a personal opinion. I don't really, know what I consider myself to be honest. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over a couple of comments that I saw on my post. I might have already addressed a couple of them already, but I'm just going to go ahead and read them anyways. So now somebody goes, bro, don't SARM suppress, isn't it smarter just to take that dare, referring to steroids? And I said, in my experience, not really. I've used them properly, and I've never abused them. So if you're taking fake SARMs and stuff that's not real, then I suppose it would be smarter to take real steroids, but then again, not all steroids that are going to be sold to somebody are going to be real either. So that's another factor to consider there. And somebody goes, anyone can claim anything. I see you working here. Admit to SARMs, but not to steroids, so people back off with accusations while you keep decent credibility. Anyone with half a brain doesn't buy what you're selling. Bad move. That is a good theory, but no, I really only have used SARMs in the past. I don't take steroids for all the reasons that I listed. Does that mean I'm not going to take them in the future? No, that doesn't mean that. And that also doesn't mean that, the next time that you guys see me in good shape doesn't mean like, oh, so hey, he jumped to steroids already. Doesn't mean that necessarily at all. I think that once I do find the right stuff and I do start to, use them, I think you guys will really be able to tell, because I'm going to bring a whole different look that nobody has ever seen me bring before, which goes back to what I was saying. Like, if you think I look impressive in that specific photo, just wait until I get my hands on some real stuff. I think I'll be able to do some serious damage in terms of, competing and looking a certain way and stuff like that. Somebody else goes, how often and long did you take SARMs for? I've used them, like I said, I'm not just constantly on SARMs year round, because that's not good for you, obviously, despite the fact that they're supposed to have no side effects. Like I said, if you do abuse them, you will see some side effects, and that's with anything. So I would say that for 6 months of the year, I'm not taking them, and for the other 6 months of the year, I was taking them. And that doesn't mean 6 months on, 6 months off. That just necessarily kind of means like maybe 2 or 3 months on, 2 or 3 months off, that sort of thing. Someone else goes, everyone's got their own opinion, 100%, but in my opinion, total bullshit. I know people who have trained for 4 years on test and eat great and also work out like animals, and they don't look like you. SARMs don't work that good, bro. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, because I really am only taking SARMs. Maybe they were, didn't have as good a genetics as I do. Maybe they would drink on the weekend. Maybe they didn't take things as seriously as you thought that they did. Or maybe they weren't even taking real steroids in the first place, because not every single steroid that somebody's taking is always real. I mean, there are bad batches of stuff. There are bad sources to get stuff, of which I don't know. Somebody else says, like, seriously, SARMs, I highly doubt that you'd rather use them instead of steroids when the research has been done about steroids, and we're really not sure 100% about SARMs. The research done about them so far basically shows that they are useless. Don't think it's right for you to be painting this image that you can achieve this physique without taking steroids. 99% of IFBB pros are taking steroids, and you are no different. In which I responded, you're basing your opinion off the way I look, which is exactly my point. If I can look this way without steroids, then imagine what I could do with them. To his point, when he says the research has been done about steroids, when not that much research has been done about SARMs, yes, I agree with that, but that also goes back to, not every single steroid is real, not every single SARM is real, and I would personally prefer to ingest something than to inject it if I had to choose between the two. What is your SARM cycle on prep? Like I said, I use Ostarine, MK, that's the same thing, Ostarine, S4, Cardarine, LGD, YK. Those are the main ones. I typically took them for about 12 weeks. So I would do like a 20-week prep. I would induce SARMs around the 12 to 0 week mark, 0 weeks being the show date. And 1 week prior to the show, I wouldn't like come off the SARMs that supposedly cause water retention or anything like that, because in my own head, at least with my body, I knew that despite the fact that I'm taking SARMs that supposedly cause, excess water retention, I realized like, hey, when I'm taking these SARMs that supposedly cause us water retention, I still look great, 4 weeks out and stuff like that. So I'm thinking, why would I want to take this SARM away when, I'm basically looking as lean as I can look? Like, me taking away a SARM is not going to make me lose any more water retention. In fact, it's probably just going to make me slightly flatter and hold a little bit less water in my muscle, which is obviously not what you want. So I also don't want to confuse my body into, taking something away that it's been getting and end up looking flat and watery on the show day. So I played it safe, and I just took my SARMs all the way through to the show date, and then the days coming off the SARMs, I wouldn't just cut it cold turkey. I would taper off the SARMs. So I would take slightly less of the SARMs each and every day to, slowly come off of them, as opposed to just going SARMs, no SARMs. It would basically just, be a nice staircase down, which goes back to, properly using them and not abusing them. Somebody asked about a PCT. So the PCT that I was taking, I honestly don't even know what it was. It was basically just MSL's branded post-cycle therapy bottle. I think it was supposed to be like Novadex and Arimidex and maybe something like that. I honestly have no idea what was in it. I actually had the bottles of the stuff saved after my prep, but I recently just cleaned out my cabinet, so I don't have any of the bottles to show you guys anymore. unfortunately. But yeah, I would say that's about it. I hope that kind of clarified some questions for you guys about SARMs. And like I said, I'm not condoning the use of them. I don't recommend that anybody takes them. That's just been my experience with them. Personally, I've enjoyed the results that I've gotten from them, and I think it's time for me to move on to the next step now, meaning real steroids with. Like I said, I'm still on the hunt to find an actual real source of them, because I'm not just gonna buy something off the internet and just hope that it's going to be okay if I inject it in myself, because I'm not about to take a risk like that. So yeah, I hope this gives you guys some insight as to what my results with them have been like over the last 2 years. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.